you can't change anything you can't see or refuse to see. So I see a lot of people starting, coming in blaming their partner, and it's a lot of it is projection. A lot of it is like you don't like what you see in the other person because you have it yourself, which is kind of an armchair psychology thing, but a lot of it is true. But there are things where, we're feeling this isn't right for me. Like you get into this thing after the oxytocin kind of comes down, the average relationship lasts between 6 and 12 weeks because the oxytocin pulse lasts about 6 to 12 weeks. So when this drug, essentially this oxytocin, fades away, you're back into that same place before where you're disillusioned, you're recapitulating your past. And I think there's something existential in that when you do the same thing over and over again and it causes you pain. I think that's how addictions start. I think it's like, well, I don't see any other way but getting involved with someone who is angry or someone who's depressed or someone who's anxious. I don't see any other way around that.
Who's an addict. Yeah.
So I don't see a way around that. So the only way I can do that and stay in this relationship is to use drugs, use alcohol,
numb myself,
be an adrenaline junkie, dissociate. And that's where I believe addiction start, is that it's a way of staying in a relationship with yourself as well that's uncomfortable. So rather than dealing with the underlying thing, which is what we're saying, rather than having the awareness of going back and going, okay, this is the pain that I went through when I was a child, I don't want to have to go through that. So I would much rather, insert addiction here.
Or focus on the other partner's behavior. Exactly.
That's an addiction too, because if you look at the neurology of that, when you start gossiping, when you start pushing something onto somebody else, there is a temporary cortisol rush, there's an adrenaline rush, there's a dopamine rush in our system that alleviates that pain that we feel ourselves. So this is why there's this tiny addictive little charge that we get when we start pointing the finger at somebody else, but it doesn't last. It's another addiction, right? So the bottom line is seeing what your wounding was, and can you come into a compassionate connection with that younger version of you that was, abused, neglected, lost, abandoned, matured too early, rejected, bullied, whatever it was.